Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well. Let me present myself. My name is Dr. SHONIN. My colleague, Dr. William Van Gordon. We're here to talk you through a workshop. We've all had experience of meditation, yes? So that means that you all know that meditation is very, very hard work. It's probably the hardest work that you have ever done. It's a journey inwards, many obstacles we come across. Some are pleasant, some are not so pleasant. Some we like, some we don't like. But I want to start today by asking you exactly what do you think meditation is? First question. Second question. Is mindfulness meditation? Is meditation mindfulness? So let's start with the first question. Any answers? No. We have to have an interactive dialogue, okay? This is your workshop, so yes.
So mindfulness is an approach to the form of spiritual practice.
Sorry?
It's no meditation.
I didn't understand.
Mindfulness, you ask mindfulness is meditation or no?
Mindfulness? What is the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Is meditation mindfulness? Is mindfulness meditation?
I consider that mindfulness is an approach.
An approach.
To all spiritual practices. Not only meditation, also recitation, chanting, whatever. It's attitude, approach or attitude.
So let me make it quite clear, yes?
I was going to add that meditation, I feel like, is creating space between the mind doing its thinking thing and being aware of it doing the thinking thing.
Okay, so we divide the mind into one little part and one big part.
And then through that big part is expanding your awareness.
So where's mindfulness in that?
I think mindfulness is a practice for creating that space.
Good. So mindfulness is the guardian that looks after the most part of the mind that is concentrated. Mindfulness makes sure, assures that that part of the mind that is concentrated, that is focused, is not disturbed. Yes? It's a guard. That's why we use mindfulness. It is a tool. Yes? Now, I've got an exercise for you. And as you're all ready in groups you can do this exercise. What do you think are the 10 mistakes made by meditation practitioners or people who wish to practice meditation? Talk together, discuss it, and one person from each group will be the spokesperson to let us all know.
I don't know what it is. I think this is right meditation, right meditation. The Buddhist path, right meditation this is not point.
see that you have a fixed and rigid form of how that they although there are good reasons
We got 5 here.
The problem is when
but we just try to discuss.
so the post,
So people go for rigid posture of like doing meditation. People try to at the end,
It doesn't have to be like a form or you need to count it like count it by heart.
Okay, people, one more minute. Yes, one more minute.
control your some meditation
That's why some people think that during meditation they cannot think of it. Just let the mind blank. Yeah, which is wrong.
so people may expect that when they meditate, they can achieve something. So much want to achieve something.
Very
some mystical
side. They don't have
so we have a poster, we have
a state of the mind.
we have the mind to achieve something and then intention. We have
Okay, everyone, let's hear what each group has to say. Okay, give me one. This group. Could you speak up?
Okay, some practitioners may look for a fixed posture of the body posture, which is in fact could be flexible depending on which Buddhist tradition. But people really seek for this posture, fixed posture. So make it too rigid.
Yep. Okay. So you think that we could stand on our head and practice meditation?
If you could.
Yeah. I agree. The body has to be comfortable. That way the mind is comfortable. If the mind is comfortable, then it can concentrate. Yep.
Having an achievement mindset.
Having
Having an achievement mindset.
having an achievement mindset. Having the need to create achievements.
I meditated correctly today.
Okay. What happens if you're not meditating correctly? How do you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not really because
How do you know?
I figure for me, if I even just get down there and do the best I can, whatever happens from that point is actually
Good. Good. I agree. Yeah, that works.
We're talking about having some very basic expectations about what we make it so after meditation.
Excellent.
So you want relaxation or you desire some insight.
Yes.
And the more you want it, the less.
Yes. So the idea is not to have any expectations, just to allow the experience to arise and just see what happens. Yeah, good. Who's the spokesperson?
We didn't identify.
You have to talk to them.
It depends on how to interpret it and the mistakes on conception about so there are many mistakes or many misconceptions. So
Yes.
it depends on what you're talking about is the specific one. So if there's just a general student, there's one.
I think I understand that.
Are you able to give us just one example of a mistake?
Okay, for some people, that there's a standard posture.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Perfect. Okay, that works.
Excuse
Yes.
me. We,
Yes.
do you
Cannot hear.
do you have a microphone? We actually cannot hear what
Yeah, good
others
idea.
say.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So,
The
this
thing for the
this
speaker.
that's better.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think one of the mistakes might be that the practitioner cannot be persistent with meditation. We think to continuously do the meditation practice like every day, it's very important. It's not like a practitioner you do it today, but tomorrow, day after tomorrow you don't do it, then you cannot get a real level, some kind of level in meditation.
Okay. I understand that, and I think to a degree that's correct. But if you don't mind, I'll ask you a question. Yes? Today, you get up in the morning and you really feel good, and you practice meditation. Tomorrow, you get up, you're not feeling quite so good. If you make yourself, if you force yourself to practice meditation, is that good?
For my
If it's
personal
not,
experience,
yes.
my personal experience, if I feel good, I do meditation, and meditation will keep me good.
Yes.
But if I don't feel good, I still do meditation, that will change me to a good mood after meditation.
Okay. Okay. So you get rid of that mood
Yeah. That
before you
happens.
sit down,
Uh,
before you practice.
Maybe after the first 10 minutes of meditation.
Okay. So you sit and you allow it to, you let it go.
Yeah.
Good. Good. I think that's good.
Thank you.
Yes. That group has done. This group.
One of the problems can be mistake would be discouragement. When I fail to be faithful to my resolution
Okay.
to do the meditation, and I get discouraged because of pain, because of lack of time, tiredness, and so on. And the second issue, several of them were we were discussing several elements that were mentioned already. So one of them was also lack of a proper guide,
Okay.
a spiritual guide who can, because one of the mistakes is not to be corrected by somebody who has experience as a spiritual guide.
Okay. Okay.
But then that the practitioners, they always have should not, can or cannot. Maybe they should practice 5 days a week, or they should not have too many times of meditation in a day, or they can do it in 5 minutes, but they cannot do it in 15 minutes. So I think we think that they have too many should not, cannot. There may be not the right thinking that they should have.
Okay. Okay.
One mistake would be to rush
You have to talk into the mic, otherwise we still can't hear.
rush into practice without proper preparation.
Rushing into practice
Yeah, without proper preparation.
without proper preparation. Okay, I might ask you what you think proper preparation is later on. Yes?
We come up with several mistakes that we think people would make. One of them is that while we start meditating, usually there are many uninvited issues coming across our mind. And while we know that we should let it go, there are many times we'll carry a weight there for quite some time before we can sort of get back to where we should be. The other errors we think people would make is that while we know that we should stay calm and just focus on one thing. For example, while we're watching our own breathing.
Yes?
At least for myself, I have the problem of being too focused and using a lot of my own energy to try to focus on one thing, and in fact that affects my calmness.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Right. One person said having a right guide. Yes? Having a right teacher. Who is your best teacher? So that's a very easy question, actually, when you think about it. Ah, good. Yeah. The best teacher, the best guide is yourself. But first of all, we have to find the self. First of all, we have to find the self. And as we said yesterday, we human beings have the tendency to create many, many selves. And each one of those selves, in fact, today, with the advent of social media and so on and so forth, we even create virtual selves. Okay? To which we actually can and do become addicted to. We have a self when we're with the family, we have a self when we're at work, we have a self when we're at school or at university, we have a self when we're teaching. We have many, many selves. Which one of those is true? What we have to do, because each one of those selves is a delusion, an illusion, we have to learn, because we have the power to construct those selves, we have also the power to deconstruct those selves. Deconstructing those selves, we can then begin to reconstruct something that is rather beautiful, dynamic, and fluid, that allows and accepts change. Nothing, absolutely nothing, in all the universes remains static. All things change, all things move, all things are moving. And we should allow that and participate in that dance, participate in that movement, be part of it. We can't always be the same. We are born, we live, we grow, so we get older, and we die. Things change, and that's the same for absolutely everything, whether we're talking about a human being, an animal, a mountain, the earth, or the universe. It's exactly the same. Things are born, things live, and things die. Let me go through some of the mistakes that we found. that the meditation practitioner makes of them. We'll start at number 10. First one is actually not starting to meditate. A nationally representative survey by the UK Mental Health Foundation found that 50%, over 50% of British adults actually want to meditate, but only 26% actually begin to do so. So perhaps that's the first mistake, not actually starting. Starting is one of the most difficult things in any discipline, whether it's mathematics or meditation. It's just taking that first step. It's one of the most difficult things to do. Number 9 is actually giving up once you've started. Because, this has been said, some people don't persevere because they have unrealistic expectations about meditation and about mindfulness. This is very important. Meditation is not a quick fix solution. Meditation is a lot of fun. It's a joy. It's relaxing. But it is very, very hard work. I gave a seminar once with quite a lot of people, hundreds of people, practicing meditation. The first day, they came from all over the world. They were all sitting in rows, and I came in when they were all together, assembled, and I walked up on the stage. Do you know, every single person was absolutely rigid, backs absolutely straight, sitting cross-legged, and no one was smiling. So I asked them all to go home and come back when they could be happy, smile, relax. And so we practiced the next day. So it's very important to relax. Second, is actually not finding a teacher. Mindfulness practitioners make better progress where they feel they are guided by an experienced meditation teacher. The role of the teacher, and this is vital, the role of the teacher is not about cluttering up our minds with concepts, ideas, intellectual properties, but helping us to remove obstacles that prevent the mind's true nature from shining through. So the teacher, if he's just regurgitating, or she is just regurgitating from something that they have learned from a book or from other instructors, your intuition should tell you. If they're teaching from experience, that is much better. And your intuition will tell you. There's quite a difference. Finding an unsuitable teacher. So, people can spend years bolstering the ego and the bank account of a poor teacher. This is unfortunately very common. Okay? The teacher must have an experiential understanding. Your intuition, as I said, will tell you this. Okay. Oh, I think I've got it. So, ask questions of the teacher, but avoid having preconceived ideas. Ask yourself, actually, do I feel better physically? Do I feel better psychologically? Do I feel better spiritually? Am I making progress when in this person's presence? Try to allow your intuition, your intuitive mind, to answer these questions rather than being over intellectual. How do we know that we're making progress? Well, it's rather like falling overboard from a ship. Okay? There's the other shore, and you can see where the shore is. Yes? You're in the water. If the shore is getting further away from you, then you have big problems. Okay? You're not making progress. If you're treading water, you've got some problems. Okay? You have to think. You have to reflect. Allow your intuition to let you know in which direction to move. If you see that the shore is getting closer, bingo, you're making progress. Okay? But it's not the intellect that will tell you. It's your intuition that will tell you. And I heard this from one table, I can't remember which, trying too hard. This is a very big mistake. A very big mistake. Trying too hard in meditation can result in inner conflict and unhealthy consequences, including psychotic episodes. So don't try. Simply do not try. Make an effort, make a joyous effort, but don't try too hard. Not trying hard enough is the next. We find many excuses. For example, I simply don't have time. I've heard this so many times. I simply don't have time to meditate. Not trying hard enough triggers a stressful attitude towards practicing meditation. Try not to create a separation between life and meditation. Good meditators, good practitioners, practice all the time. So, am I still attached? So, if you find many people think that you have to be sitting to practice meditation, and many people sit for many hours, including monastics. Some of them actually sit on their backsides for 13 hours a day, 14 hours a day. But does this mean they're actually practicing meditation? I don't know. Rather than that, if you can get into a crowded train, crowded underground, crowded bus, no seats, you're standing, and you can practice for 30 seconds, 1 minute, or the time to get from where you've got on the bus to where you get off, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. If you can practice, really practice, in that situation, then you're making progress. Then you can say, I am practicing. But just sitting, allowing the mind to wander, is not practicing meditation. Okay? This is extremely important. Forgetting about impermanence. Actually, the most important thing is becoming aware of the fact that all things are impermanent. Health benefits are associated with awareness of impermanence. Remembering that all things are impermanent can remove complacency by prompting us to reflect upon what is important. And what is important? Well, I believe spiritual development is important. Practicing a spiritual path, it doesn't matter what it is. But moving forwards is very important. This life we have is extremely short. Perhaps we will be fortunate enough to have this life for 100 years. Maybe. Maybe. We don't know when death will strike. We don't know how it is going to strike. But strike it will. So, rather than procrastinate, put off until tomorrow, perhaps it's wise to practice now. Okay? Become aware of the fact that we are actually alive. Become aware of the fact that we are actually breathing. You'd be very surprised the number of people who are simply not aware of the fact that they breathe in and they breathe out. But that very fact is rather important, because if we're not breathing, we're dead. And in every single breath, in every single in-breath and every single out-breath, have you any idea? Are you aware of what is actually happening in life? What you hear, see, smell, taste, touch, in every in-breath and every out-breath is of vital importance. Because it's your life. If you're not aware of that fact, then you might as well not be here. Simple as that. To just give you a further example of this, if I may. Let's say we're in the garden. Yes? We're in the garden. And there's the blackbird who's singing. Yes? Now that blackbird has spent all of its life learning that song and practicing that song just for you in that moment. In fact, in Buddhism, actually, we say it's been practicing for lifetimes. To sing that song in that garden when you are there. And you have spent many lifetimes practicing, getting ready to be there in that garden to listen to that song. If you're in that garden and the blackbird sings and you ignore it, you don't hear it, then you've wasted all of those lifetimes training very hard to hear what the blackbird has to say. So, in every single breath, in breath and out breath, we should be aware, fully aware, of what we hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. This is practice. Very hard work, very concentrated, very focused. And let's not forget to be human. Meditation, sure, it's serious, it's important, makes part of our spiritual progress. But let's not be too serious about it. Let's not forget to laugh. Let's not forget to be spontaneous. If I'm working at my desk, in the office, various people around, coming in and coming out, and I feel like having 2 minutes to myself. I just want 2 minutes. I will stop. I will stop spontaneously. I don't want to see any more of the computer. I don't want to see anyone at all. I will take 2 minutes and I will walk up and down the corridor, for example. Or I will say, don't come in to the office. And I will walk around my office. Just to let go. Because this is the practice of meditation. Meditation is the practice of letting go. Mindfulness requires us to be down to earth and embrace all that means to be human. We must look after ourselves and we should look after others. Okay? However, the practice of meditation is good, but do not become dependent on it. Do you understand what I mean by that? Let me explain further. Becoming dependent, that is to say, becoming addicted to meditation. This can happen. For example, I have a routine. Human beings are very good at being habitual. They like routines. We all like routines. Yes? We like habits. We get into habits. So, I get up in the morning, this is my normal habit, let's say. I get up in the morning at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, I practice meditation. This is my habit, okay? And then I go to university and I do the classes and I do my work and all the rest of it. Now, let's say one day I get up late. I don't have time for my coffee. I don't have time for my cigarette. And I don't have time to meditate. That means that that day could be disastrous. Okay? Because I haven't done that which I am used to doing. Does that make sense? It becomes a habit. It no longer is meditation. It is just a routine, a habit. Are we there? A small number of individuals have actually become addicted to meditation. Meditation can be used as a substitution technique for treating behavioral addictions. It's a form of positive addiction. Do you know what behavioral addictions are? Behavioral addictions such as gambling disorder, problem gambling. Yes? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. So traditional meditation literature cautions against becoming addicted to certain states in meditation. You've all heard of piti, yes? Blissfulness, do you understand? There are certain states in which we arrive when we're practicing meditation. And one of those states is called in Pali, piti. Okay? The English translation is blissful. Okay? It's completely tranquil. It's, are you understanding? Yes? So, people can actually become addicted to that peaceful state. However, within a psychological setting, we can use that as a substitute for gambling, for example, or for gaming. You know, gaming on the video gaming things. And this happens particularly with younger people, this gaming or not. Yes. So we use meditative techniques and we substitute the meditation, the practice of meditation, for the gambling or for the gaming. Now, the idea is not to use meditation to escape the world, but to use meditation as a tool for developing and engaging a compassionate heart. We use meditation as a tool in order to engage fully in the world, to participate in this life that we have, which, as I said, is very precious and rather short. We don't know how long or short it's going to be.
Excuse me, can we go back a little bit?
Yeah.
You're talking about the positive addiction.
Yes.
Are you saying that's a good thing?
No.
No,
No.
no, but some people do that.
Okay, so we use it within psychological settings, in clinical settings. We can use meditation as a positive addiction, but the clinician has to be very cautious and very careful, because it starts as a positive addiction, but then we have to work with the patient so that that addiction can be, they can be weaned off that addiction. But it's better to have a positive addiction for a short time than to have a negative addiction for a long time. Okay?
So it's like having a patch to get rid of the addiction.
Yes. Yes.
So how to identify after you meditate?
One second. Which one is it? Thank you.
How to identify what's the appropriate level of bliss from meditation? What's the bliss for the positive addiction from meditation?
Okay, I think I've understood. I'll try to answer. If I haven't understood, then you can let me know. Okay. So how do you know that you have arrived at a good, positive level of bliss before it becomes a negative? Okay. Could talk into the... Okay. That's rather simple. It's just like a heroin addict. Rather like a heroin addict. You start with, or a dope addict, you start with a little amount, and then you need to do it more, you have to have more, and you have to have more, and then you become antisocial. For example, you know, I don't want to see anyone, I want to have this bliss. I don't want to do that, I don't want to eat. And some people forget to go to the bathroom. That is true. Yeah. It's true also with the gamers. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't go to the bathroom. They're just totally absorbed. Okay? If that happens, you're getting further away from that shore. You're not making progress. So, your intuition, just relax. Your intuition will let you know. Okay? And the first huge mistake is suffering from ontological addiction, which we spoke about yesterday. Sorry? Okay. This is a new psychological theory which we developed a couple of years ago, published in various academic journals. This theory is based on the principle that human beings are very ego-driven. The definition of ontological addiction is the unwillingness to relinquish an erroneous and a deep-rooted belief in an inherently existing self or I, as well as the impaired functionality that arises from such a belief. We tend to live our lives through the lens of I, me, and mine, those different selves that we have created. But the self, that is only a concept. It's a label, it's an idea, it's a fabrication, total fabrication of the mind. And this is a plea with you. Please don't try to become an advanced meditator. Just practice. Okay? I'll leave you with my colleague. Are you okay with that?
So yeah. So, hello everybody. I'll talk now a little bit about this intervention called meditation awareness training. Today we have such a short time together, just 90 minutes. We can only really touch on one or two of the key themes. We can only try and give you a flavour for what is embodied in the full intervention, which is normally 8 weeks long. So, yesterday we mentioned that a recent development in meditation research and practice is that there has been a second generation of mindfulness-based interventions developed and empirically evaluated in recent years. And these two approaches, first and second generation approaches, are complementary, yet they offer people more choice. So the definition subscribed to by first generation mindfulness-based interventions in general is this definition here, which I'm sure many of you have come across before. Mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. That's a valid definition. In an interview that was recorded between ourselves and John Kabat-Zinn, who formulated that definition. However, he stated he felt mindfulness isn't a spiritual practice. And we felt that for us, that didn't embody what mindfulness is about. We felt that we should really acknowledge the presence or potential presence for a spiritual component. So we formulated a new definition that's steadily gathering momentum in the academic literature as follows. Mindfulness is the full, direct and active awareness of experienced phenomena that is psychospiritual in aspect and maintained from one moment to the next. I'll just unpack that a little bit, which we didn't do yesterday. Full awareness, direct awareness and active awareness. Full awareness means that we're fully aware of what's happening in the present moment. We're fully aware of what's happening inside of us and what's happening around us, yet we're not trying too hard to be aware. We're not trying to notice everything. This isn't hyper-awareness. It has to be a relaxed and natural form of awareness. So we're aware of that which is unfolding in front of us. We're not looking for more things to be aware of. I hope that's clear. Direct awareness means that we're aware of what we're doing now. Our awareness is direct. We're participating in the present moment. We're observing ourselves participating. And active awareness, you may recall in the last definition I mentioned for first generation approaches, there's the term non-judgmental awareness. I'm not too comfortable with that definition, with that approach, because that could suggest that the meditation practitioner, the mindfulness practitioner doesn't form judgment. But we have to. If we see a child about to run in front of a car, we will hopefully interject in that situation. We form a judgment and we act appropriately. But that judgment should always be formed, should always be based from a compassionate and a wisdom-based outlook.
So it's an active form of awareness. We discriminate, but we discriminate with wisdom. It's psycho-spiritual in aspect, so we understand that this practice, if it's applied in the right way, if it's applied with the right intention, can help us to grow and evolve as a human being and can help others to do the same. And we maintain it from one moment to the next. Meditation or mindfulness in this case has to infuse all aspects of our life. Meditation is life. We should be practicing always. We should be practicing now. We should be aware now how we're sat. We should be aware of our body posture, aware of our breathing posture, aware of our mental posture at all times. That's practice. And here's another definition of mindfulness from the Buddha, who said that we should not pursue the past. We should not lose ourselves in the future. The past is history, the future yet to come. Looking deeply at life as it is in the here and now, the practitioner dwells unshaken and free in heart. We must be diligent today, as death may strike tomorrow. There's no bargaining with the Lord of death. Mindfulness means being aware of impermanence. Being aware of impermanence now, that all things are changing all of the time, here and now, and being aware of the fact that all things that are will ultimately cease to be. This is fundamental, this understanding we should retain with us always. We should never forget that. And when we do that, when we remember impermanence in that manner, it helps to give us a different perspective on life. It changes things. It changes things immediately. Things that perhaps situations we're getting drawn into, situations we're becoming attached to. When we step back and remember that that situation is changing, we are changing, that situation will not be in the future. It cannot sustain itself, and we will not be in the future. It helps us to let go a little bit. Okay, so here's some examples of the two different types of mindfulness-based approach. We touched on this yesterday. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, mindfulness-based stress reduction would correspond to the first generation approach. Compassion cultivation training, I believe, was formulated by Thupten Jingpa, who has been the principal translator of the Dalai Lama for decades. Meditation awareness training is a second generation approach, and the other one mentioned there, mindfulness-based positive behaviour support, was developed by a colleague in the United States. So some of the criteria for second generation approaches are that they are they're openly psycho-spiritual in nature. There's been some law cases recently about mindfulness-based interventions, mostly in America, one or two in the United Kingdom, I don't know about Hong Kong, perhaps you will, whereby people felt they've been misled. There's been too much ambiguity for first generation mindfulness-based approaches as to whether they're spiritual or not, whether they're Buddhist or not, because some of the organisations using those interventions have used kind of a different marketing approach depending on who they're working with. In some cases, they've very much distanced themselves from anything to do with Buddhism, but when their connection to Buddhism has served their purposes, then they've emphasised that aspect too. And so there's a need for clarity. We have to be open with people, we have to be transparent. And so whenever we deliver this intervention, we say to people at the beginning, this intervention is secular. We don't believe it to be religious, yet we do believe it to be spiritual, and it is firmly based on Buddhist principles. If you're happy with that, come and join in. If you're not, go and do another intervention, and that's fine. We cover ethics explicitly in this intervention because traditionally mindfulness, meditation were always taught, always practiced as part of an ethical framework. And the reason for that is perhaps slightly different than we might think. Employing ethics as part of our practice, it's not so much about being good and being right and not doing things wrong. It's about preparing the correct conditions for concentration, for meditation, for spiritual development. Because if we're engaged in unwholesome activities, that tends to distract the mind, it tends to agitate the mind, because we're worrying about this, we're scheming about that, we're creating numerous problems that are going to take up our time. Whereas maintaining good ethics, that gives us less to worry about. When we have less to worry about, it's easier to establish meditative calm. So that's another perspective on ethics, perhaps. Another important criteria for second generation mindfulness-based interventions is that instructors have undergone years of supervised practice so that they can teach from experience. What we don't want to happen is somebody goes on an 8-week course, they practice a bit of meditation once or twice a week for a few months, and then they're teaching mindfulness or teaching meditation. That's not going to equip them with sufficient experience to then go and help people or guide people. So in this intervention, there are meditation and meditation awareness training, there's meditation exercises taught, mindfulness exercises taught, there's some group work each week, there's some guided meditations each week during the group sessions, and then to go home and practice on your own. There's seminars. There's also a one-to-one support session, so each individual who participates in the intervention has 2 50-minute sessions with the programme facilitator, just so that there's some space and time to discuss personal progress. We touched very briefly on this model yesterday. This is a model for this intervention. Unfortunately today also there isn't time to delve into it in too much depth, but I'll just pick up one point. Yes. So the 3 cornerstones of this intervention are based on the Trishiksha, or the 3 trainings principle, which asserts that any valid, any effective, any authentic path of meditative practice should have these 3 components of meditation, ethics and wisdom. So if you look at the Eightfold, the Noble Eightfold Path, for example, you can divide that path into these 3 components, and that's often done. And the same applies to many other paths of practice within Buddhism. So the meditation component, then you'll see that mindfulness at the top there is just a very small part of the overall path of practice. And what we're trying to do, our objective is actually to elicit meditative insight. But if we want to do that, first of all we need a calm and a focused mind. Because if we try to investigate something, if we try to investigate the present moment, or try to investigate our own nature with a mind that isn't centered, then in all likelihood the outcome of that investigation will be unreliable. If we investigate something with a confused mind, then the outcome will likely be confused too. And so in order to sustain concentration, we need to watch over the concentrating mind, we need to regulate it using mindfulness. So that's kind of the process that we're following. So I'll just run through now some of the mechanisms of action. These are based on scientific studies. These are the processes by which we understand this intervention is effective. These are the processes by which we understand this intervention leads to growth or change. So one mechanism of action that's been proposed is that this practice helps to initiate a perceptual shift in the way we see things, so that we can step back, so that there's some so that there's a greater amount of perceptual space between us and our mental phenomena, or phenomena that we observe in the external environment. And in that manner, we're more able to observe and let go of those mental processes, to see them as passing phenomena rather than to hold on to them. Addiction substitution, we talked about a moment ago, is another mechanism for individuals with addiction issues. We can substitute a negative form of addiction for a more positive form of addiction that we must ultimately relinquish further down the line. Self-awareness and self-compassion are other mechanisms that help foster growth and development. Through meditation, we become more self-aware, more self-compassionate. We've talked about how impermanence also, becoming more aware of the impermanent nature of life and phenomena, helps to change our perspective on things. Spiritual awareness, obviously, has also been identified as an outcome from this practice that helps to broaden our perspective on life. Urge surfing is another mechanism that's been identified. When we have a compulsive urge to do something, to react in a negative manner with anger, for example, or to pick up our phone in order to check our social media activity in a habitual manner, we can step back, observe that urge, we can surf it, if you like. Also, conscious breathing, focusing on our breath, has been shown to lead to biological and neurological changes that help to calm the body. And if we have a calm body, then it's easier to calm the mind. And finally, it's been shown that this practice helps us to defer gratitude. That means it helps us to become more patient with ourselves and more patient with others. Patience means that we have time for life. Being patient means we have time for life. It means we have time for people. It means we have time to experience the present moment. It means we're less likely to react and more likely to act. Okay.
Can I ask you, sorry, I'm going on about this positive addiction, but it fascinates me. Once you've got somebody into the positive addiction, do they have to give it up completely like you would with drugs? I mean, do you have to then never ever do meditation again? Otherwise you're going to be addicted again.
Okay, so there's a difference between experiencing blissful meditative states and being attached or addicted to those meditative states. So one doesn't need to refrain from meditating. One needs to refrain from being addicted to meditation. You see, addiction itself is addictive, and that's been shown. Individuals addicted to one form of behavioural addiction, gambling, computer games, the internet, work, they're more likely to be addicted to another form of behavioural addiction if that first form of behavioural addiction is removed from them. Because they've developed those addictive tendencies, addictive processes, they've formulated addictive needs. And so when we place meditation in front of them, when they're trained to use that as a means of deriving mood modification, deriving kind of positive feelings that they were otherwise deriving from a gambling high, those addictive processes are still very prominent, and they have a tendency to become addicted to that. Yet, probably, it's going to cause less harm in their lives than spending £1,000 a week on gambling. And then we can forget about the gambling problem, because that's gone, and now we can deal with this problem, which is less of a problem, but it is still a problem. And we can work on not being attached to meditation. But it's a safer place from where we can work with that client. And then they can meditate without being dependent on meditation. That's where we need to get to in the therapeutic process.
Question.
Hi.
The last point, I understand the improvement in patients. How is it, or why is it the ability to defer gratitude? Why is it a deference of gratitude and not an extension of time? Deferring is pushing it away, or pushing it away the time.
Yeah, so if we're, whether in a clinical context or a healthy population context, if we need reward, let's use another word, let's use the word reward instead of gratitude, okay? If we need reward, it's very easy for us to become attached to things because we're constantly seeking that reward, which could be monetary reward, it could be reputation-based reward, it could be reward even from our interacting with social media, and that tends to drive us from one activity to the next. We always need reward, we need some kind of feedback. We need feedback to show that we're alive, that we're a me, a mine, and an I. And that kind of reward-based approach to living tends to trap us in what we call the soap opera of self. Life just becomes a constant seeking of reward, even in the form of negative situations, even an argument. There's still a kind of reward there, where we're receiving feedback from an argument. Some people even look for it, they want it, they want that psychological, physical fight because there's reward. So being able to defer that, to step back, to let it go, to have it at another time, not right now, that creates space for patience, space for a more wise outlook on life. Okay, I'll hand back over to Edo, who's going to offer an alternative perspective on the mechanisms of action that underlie this type of approach to meditation. I was going to try anyway.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Right. So, I talked about hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching in every single breath, yes? But what are we hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching? So, let's take a tree, for example, a tree. What colour is the trunk? Okay. You, what colour is the trunk?
Dark brown.
Okay, dark brown. Leaves?
Green.
Oh, okay. Any other colours?
Yellow.
Orange, yes. Anything else?
Yellow.
Okay. What about carrots? What do carrots taste like? Tell me what a carrot tastes like. An orange. What does it taste like? An orange?
I can't tell you.
You can't?
I can't tell you.
So, we see, hear, smell, taste and touch through a lens of our conditioning. What we have learned, what we have taught ourselves. When we are born with, it says our mind is one what's the word? Strand. Thank you. I've been living in Italy and I forget my English. So, one strand of corn. Okay? It's a circle of corn. As we are growing, we have thoughts and we get information. And each piece of information is another strand of corn. And we put it in the circle. Yes? We put it in the circle. We collect it. So we have thoughts, and then we have feelings, and we have emotions. They're all new. Now, what does the baby do when it finds something that is new? What's the first thing it does? I got some of it. Please. Oh, got one. Yes, this one. Okay. I'm a baby, and I see something, and it's new. It's there. What do I do? Sorry? Grasp it. That's the first thing I do. Okay? So I grasp it. I take hold of it. I feel it. I feel its consistency. Yes? I'm learning. I'm learning. And then what do I do? I smell it. I taste it. I see if it makes a noise. Yes? Yes. And then all of a sudden I find something else. And it's completely new. And I do exactly the same. I see if it makes noise, I taste it, I smell it. Yes, I feel its consistency. I'm learning. Yes? But then I see this again. What does the baby do? It picks it up again. It feels it. It feels its consistency. It sees if it makes a noise, smells it, and tastes it. It's completely new. So, each and every object for the baby is always absolutely new. As it grows older, as we grow older, we get various informations from our parents, from our teachers, from our peer groups. And each piece of information, we put it in the circle, yes? And we tend, at the beginning, to keep everything nice and neat and tidy. But in adolescence, something terrible happens. We get a bit confused. Everything becomes knotted up. Yes? our minds becomes very, very conditioned. The mind tells us we like carrots, we don't like cabbage. We like strawberry ice cream, we don't like chocolate ice cream. The mind tells us, don't go into that lift. It's a small space. It will break. You will be stuck inside. You will die. Do not go close to water. Water will hurt you. Do not go up high. Do not go outside with lots of people, hypophobia for example. They will harm you. You will be at risk. The mind is a very, very powerful creature. And it does become confused. In adulthood it gets worse. And our conditioning increases, and we carry this conditioning around with us on our shoulders. And everything we see, hear, smell, taste and touch, we do so through that conditioning. What we should learn to do is get rid of it. And that is meditation. We should let go. Just relax a little bit. Relax. What I would like you to do is hold on to the sound. Okay? Hold on for as long as you possibly can to this sound. Are you still holding on? Can you still hear it? Yep. Well, can you hear that sound? Are you holding on to that sound still? No? No. In that case, if you know right from the start that you can't hold on, why do we do so? Why don't we just let go right from the very beginning? If we see a tree, we walk past this tree every day, we've walked past this tree every day for 30 years, going to work, from home to work, and I've asked many people exactly this question: what colour is the trunk of the tree? What colour are the leaves of the tree? And they always say brown and green. Always. Always. But that's not true. That is not true, because seasons change, the tree changes, the tree is growing, they are changing. Once they become aware of this fact, that this conditioning has been living their life for them, their mind has been living their life for them, then they begin to change. Then they begin to practice well. Okay? We have to let go of conditioning. And the first practice is precisely that, letting go. The fact that we are alive, what we see, hear, smell, taste and touch in this moment is not going to be the same in the next moment. Everything is changing all of the time. Life is in every breath. Every new breath is a new day, is a new life. Yes, I think so.
Right. We're finishing at 4 o'clock, is that right?
Yes.
Right, I'll rush right through to the end then, okay? We'll finish this session by focusing on the importance of breath awareness in meditation. in meditation, we use the breath as a meditative anchor. It helps us to tie the mind to the present moment. It's a useful tool because the mind has a tendency to race into the future, to be stuck in the path. And if we try to focus the mind in the present moment without a meditative aid, such as breath awareness, it can be difficult, particularly at the beginning stages of meditation. And breath awareness is a useful meditative aid because, hopefully, we're always breathing. We always have our breath with us. We don't need to go to a special place like a gym or a special room in the house to practice breath awareness. We can use that meditative aid wherever we are and however we are. Each breath we take in and out presents us with an opportunity to become aware of and to engage with the present moment, a new opportunity. Each breath is a new beginning. Each breath is unique. Each breath never, ever repeats itself. So let's be aware of the texture of each breath. Let's experience each one of our breaths because they are finite in number. They never repeat themselves. Once it's gone, it's gone. Enjoy your breathing. And when we rest our awareness on the breath in meditation and in life, which is also meditation, we should do so in a way that's natural. We shouldn't force the breath. Please, in meditation, don't be a breather. Sometimes when we are guiding a meditation, inevitably there's always one breather who goes like this. Imagine people are sat on a meditation mat, on a chair, it's calm before the meditation, and then we hear this. There we go, there's today's breather. Don't force your breath. Let it happen naturally. And observe it. How many, aside from being that type of breather, how many people in this room, how many breaths are there in this room? Let's say approximately 35, 40 people. How many breaths are there in this room?
Easy calculation.
35 people, 40 people. How many breaths? 40? Okay, uncountable. Anyone else? One. There's one breath. You're breathing in my out breath. I'm breathing in your out breath. We're breathing in the out breath of the trees. There's one breath that we're all sharing. It's the universal breath. That's a scientific fact, if you think about it, isn't it? So let's be aware of our own breath in meditation. But let's become aware of the universal breath. Let's follow our breath into the body. Let's bathe the body in breath awareness. But then let's follow the breath out of the body. Let's follow our breath throughout time and space. Let's follow our breath and observe it pervade all other parts of the earth, of the universe. Let's see ourselves in others. Let's see ourselves in the future. Let's see ourselves in the past, even before we were born. Is it not possible that even today we may be breathing in breath particles that were breathed out by the Buddha thousands of years ago? Of course it's possible. So, through becoming aware of breath, which at the beginning we're using as a meditative tool, a tool to aid concentration, we can then make a transition. We can use breath to start to tap into wisdom, to start to tap into insight that pervades everywhere, insight of the universe. So go on a journey with your breath. Use it to help you grow, in your meditative practice. I think, unfortunately, that's all we're going to have time for today.
It's a shame that we only had 90 minutes.
Such a short time, but we can take some questions, I think. Is there a tea or refreshment break? Do you know next, or? But that's it? Done?
Yeah, it's finished.
Last session? Okay, well, we'll hover around here. Are there any questions?
Yes. Yes.
Two questions. The first one is the relationship between choiceless object meditation and the self-addiction.
Relationship
between the choiceless object meditation, choiceless object. That means you do not choose any object for your meditation. Choiceless object meditation.
The choice of the object of meditation.
Yeah, choiceless.
Absolutely choiceless. It's up to you.
My question is that the choiceless object meditation and self-addiction. That means that the relationship between choiceless object meditation and self-addiction.
I'm understanding your question as follows. You want to know what our thought is regarding the relationship between self-addiction and choiceless meditation. Choiceless occupation, I don't know what that is. So could you explain it in a different way?
For example, we choose the meditation object, for example, breathing, and the breathing becomes
the breath is the object of meditation.
Become the object of meditation. I mean that the choiceless object meditation, that means that you do not choose any specific object for your meditation. That means everything is the meditation objects. Yeah. So my question is the relationship between choiceless object meditation and self-addiction. Yeah, can you?
I don't know. Any more questions? Yeah.
Two very simple questions. Pretty early on, you talked about don't make it as a routine.
Yes.
And at the same time, you also encourage to make it a kind of routine practice.
In what sense did I encourage it?
No. You were saying that do not make it as a routine.
Yes.
Because it's against addiction.
Yeah.
However, we are also not here, not essentially, we're also encouraged to have meditation as a maybe not routine but regular practice.
Okay. So we have to be very aware, as we've said, we must not become attached. The creation of a routine, the creation of a habit, is a great way of becoming attached. Okay? So, what we should do is regulate ourselves. Let's say at the very beginning, we want to practice meditation, we want to gain benefits, we would like to gain benefits, we enjoy meditation. So we practice because we enjoy it. In order to obtain benefits, we think we have to regulate ourselves. But this is a good beginning practice. Okay? For people who are beginning to practice meditation, it is a good discipline to say at 8 o'clock before I go to work, I will sit for 5 minutes. Yes? But if you become attached to that sitting for 5 minutes and then one day you don't do it, then that means you're rather dependent on that 5 minutes. So instead of that, the practitioner or the beginner should be encouraged at the beginning, do those 5 minutes. But remember, it doesn't have to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. Whenever you've got 5 minutes free, go and sit, go and practice. And that way you begin to irregulate the regularity. Okay?
Part 2 of the question is
Oh,
that
yes.
earlier on your PowerPoint says breathing has a texture. What are some of the adjectives that you would use to describe the texture?
Of the breath?
Yeah, of the breath.
Breath has color, breath has taste, breath has texture, just as the air has texture. Yes? You can feel it, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can taste it. And each time you do, it has a different taste, it has a different smell, it has a different texture. This morning, yesterday morning it was, I was out at 4:30. I went outside for a walk at 4:30 in the morning, and it was glorious. It was humid, texture, rather heavy. We should become aware of this. And as the day went on, it got a little bit lighter. Partway through the conference, it got really heavy and very cold. So the texture is changing all the time. We should learn to become aware of this. Breath, air has color. It has texture, it has taste.
Actually, Eddie got him at 4:15 and he telephoned me to say he was stop.
Is that true?
Of these presentation is very interesting. One question is do you have any theory or principle that back it up, like Buddhism or Catholic or whatever, Hinduism or whatever, or just you created yourself, or psychological principle or psychological theory. So what's the theory behind?
So this presentation today is really just to give you a flavour of an intervention we've developed that is rooted in Buddhist principles, yet actually we believe that a Buddhist who firmly believes they're a Buddhist, who's attached to being a Buddhist, isn't a Buddhist. When a Buddhist is able to let go of being a Buddhist, really let go of it, then they can call themselves a Buddhist. So, sure, this is based on Buddhist principles, but it's based on principles of spiritual living, because we enjoy to spend time with spiritual practitioners from many other walks of life, many other religions and non-religions. Because I think it's important to draw a divide, actually, between religion and spiritual practice. They don't always go together well. So I think it's spiritually informed, and it's also informed by research and scientific principles, because some people need that today. They need to see an evidence base. In fact, there's been almost a turnaround in the way we used to view and relate to evidence. Thousands of years ago, the words of an individual who was deemed to possess wisdom, those words were deemed to be evidentially very strong. Yet now, an expert's opinion is deemed to be very weak evidence, and evidence from empirical trials, from randomized controls trials, are deemed to carry the most weight. But I don't agree with that entirely. So it's based on science, it's based on spiritual principles, it's based on our own experience, which may or may not be right for you. You have to reflect on that, put it into practice, and accept or reject it according to your own experience. Do we have time for one more question? Yes, okay, one or two more.
I was just curious, since we're in the second generation of the mindfulness-based interventions, I don't know exactly when the second generation, what year it's attributed to have been commenced, but if there's any idea of when a third generation of this would have what maybe be the difference. Are you in a position to?
Well, I don't think we should put too much emphasis on this generation or that generation, because actually every time you deliver an intervention, it's a new generation really. People put a lot of focus today on the intervention structure. It uses these techniques, those techniques, it's 8 weeks long, it's 6 weeks long, there's this component, there's that component, there's mindfulness-based interventions of the first generation, second generation, there's CBT interventions, there's ACT, there's ABC, whatever. I believe, and I think Edo shares my view, but correct me if you're wrong, that actually the most important factor in terms of effectiveness in all of these interventions is the extent to which the therapist, the counsellor, the teacher is able to impart love, is able to channel love through that tool. And compassion through that tool. It ultimately comes down to their ability to connect with the individual or individuals in front of them. And of course it comes down to those individuals, those participants' ability to engage as well. But I think that factor, the therapist, the counsellor, is much more important than the specific technique they choose to use.
Yeah, I can give you a short definition, which you might like or you might not like, but it's my idea. Compassion is helping yourself, helping others, loving, showing kindness, and sometimes that kindness may be a size 10 kick in the backside. If that's necessary to help that person, then that's compassion. So you might see someone, they lose their job, they sit on the sofa watching television, drinking beer. Oh dear me, oh, why does it always happen to me? Drink, 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 why does it always happen to me? That person needs a good kick up the backside, tell him to get his act together, start making applications, help him make applications to get jobs, to begin to bring positivity into that person's life. You might need that. That kick in the backside, I would call compassion.
We'll just take a final question.
Thank you for your sharing. And I have a question for Dr. William about the area for addiction. And for the addiction, we have a positive addiction and also negative addiction. And for negative addiction, for example, gambling or drug addiction, is it possible to replace by positive addiction, such as meditation? Because the addiction, we have a tendency, the people have a tendency to addict to something. So one-to-one replacement will be better for them to accept. But is it possible to completely change their tendency to addiction
so that they will just delete the negative addiction and then without attaching to anything else. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for your question. Well, actually, we've worked in research settings with addiction a lot using this intervention. We've worked mostly in behavioural addiction, so we've conducted studies and published them with individuals who are addicted to gambling, individuals who are addicted clinically to sex, and individuals who are addicted clinically to work addiction. And the intervention has been shown empirically under research conditions to be effective, including at 6-month follow-up, so 6 months after the therapy, the intervention concluded. And those individuals in each case elicited clinically significant change, so they no longer met the criteria for that particular addiction, and to our knowledge, they didn't form another form of addiction. They went back to work, their levels of well-being according to relevant measures increased to a normative or beyond the normative level, and they re-engaged in life in a healthy way. So yes, according to the evidence, it's possible, but it's not easy, because there is that tendency to need to replace one object of addiction with another, because those addictive tendencies have become very pronounced, and it's not an easy process, and it's not for everybody. Thanks very much. If you do want to have any follow-up questions, there's some contact information there. We also publish information, kind of short teaching, short videos, a lot on Facebook. So feel free to follow that if you want to, or to contact us, send us a message. We definitely encourage that type of interaction and contact. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming today.